Hi there, this is Karen Perry, and I'm going to talk to you about science fiction today. I'm going to go through the slides of this PowerPoint pretty fast. There's not going to be book talks in this, but there are going to be a lot of book covers and titles that you will be able to see, so you can go back and look at these. I'll upload this presentation to SlideShare and put a link in the description so you can go back and look at the titles at a leisurely pace later. Until video using a new tool I found, but that was not the best way to present that information, and I just was playing around and wanted to share out a new tool with everybody. But so this is what I always intended to do, so I am definitely getting around to it today. So science fiction, there's something for everyone. There's different types of science fiction, different sub categories to this genre, or to this genre or subgenre. I mostly prefer soft sci-fi as opposed to hard sci-fi. Hard science fiction is that kind of science fiction that really is more science than I don't know, story and plot. I mean, like really like this, oh gosh, yeah. Like Star Wars, Star Trek, all of that. That's a little bit more sci-fi than I prefer. I prefer the more urban settings. What I really like about science fiction, and what I tell people, because there are people that out there that say I don't like science fiction. The thing is you can find the same themes, the same subjects, the same problems, conflicts in science fiction that you do in other genres. So basically you've got a science fiction setting, but you still have friendship drama, you still have family drama, you still have boyfriend-girlfriend issues, and you'll see some of that as we go through these books here in just a little bit. So first I want to share with you, I wrote a book for Voya Press called Sci-Fi on the Fly, A Reader's Guide to Science Fiction for Young Adults. This is really for you to use to help you suggest science fiction books to your students. It's broken down into the categories that I'm going to talk about today, and it just gives you book titles and synopsises and read-alikes and subject areas. So you could look in the back of the book and say you want to see books that deal with pregnancy. And so you could flip to the pages and it will show you the books that deal with pregnancy but also happen to fall in this science fiction category. So let's get started. You can buy my book at Amazon, by the way. Hint, hint. Alright, so apocalyptic / post-apocalyptic. Alright, so books that fall into this category, or these categories, can be very similar. However, there is a difference. Apocalyptic fiction deals with the end of civilization, traditionally from a catastrophe, like a nuclear war, a pandemic, natural disaster. So we get to see what happens to the people as they are living this catastrophe. We see the ramifications of the changes as they're happening. Post-apocalyptic can take place many years after that major catastrophe. And so then we are seeing how people have started to try and pull themselves back up to some type of standard of living. We rarely know exactly what life was like before, because sometimes, like I said, many years have passed and they've really lost the records, of course, of what life was like back then. So they don't even know, these generations now that are living in this world. A lot of times it's a primitive setting because there's not the technology and modern conveniences, because everything was wiped out. So the TV show, I mean, I love this genre. This is probably one of my favorites. Dystopian is probably the next favorite. I was always the type of person as a kid that I liked in my mind to play survival. Not that I would last 2 seconds, because I need my air conditioning and I have to wear glasses. I mean, I would just not make it. Of course, my husband tells me that all the time. I'd be dead in about two days. However, I still like to dream about survival. I was an only child, so I would make believe, in my mind that my bed was like a raft, and I would put all of my favorite toys and things on the bed, and I would be adrift at sea, and my bed was the raft, and so I would have to survive, and that's just what I did. So I love post-apocalyptic. The testing by JOELLE, very similar in my opinion to Hunger Games and oh gosh, come on, you know. It starts with a D. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm pausing just a minute. Okay, go! How embarrassing! Divergent, of course. So very similar to both of those, kind of a blending of the two. Tumble and Fall is interesting because it's an apocalyptic, and there aren't as many apocalyptics as there are post-apocalyptics. This one follows, I can't remember, 3 or 4 characters as they're dealing with the imminent destruction of the planet due to an asteroid. So think of Armageddon the movie, kind of like that, although they can't save the world. So it's how they're dealing with it. A Matter of Days, loved this book. It's a brother and sister, sister's older, and they have been told by their uncle what's coming up, and what's coming up is a disease is taking pretty much everybody out, and he's told them what to do and where to go and how long to wait to leave, and now their mother has died, they're left alone, and they're having to make it across the United States in this terrible post-apocalyptic world to get to safety where her uncle told them they'll be safe, because like their grandpa has like a bunker or something in this mountain. So anyway, I said there wasn't going to be book talks, and there won't be all along, but I can't help it. Love Monument 14 by Emmy Laybourne. Oh my goodness. Of course I would want to be trapped in like a Walmart supercenter if a terrible catastrophe happened. Perfect place. The Rule of Three by Eric Walters. Cool. It's like a neighborhood is having to pull together in order to fend off people that are trying to come in and take what is theirs or overthrow, and you know, so it's just power and safety, and it's interesting. Ashfall, love this. Volcano erupts and destroys vegetation. The sun is blocked, and this young boy was a jerk to his parents and left alone at home, and so now he's trying to go find them. Love this series, Life as We Knew It by Susan Beth Pfeffer. Oh my goodness, such a good book. The great trilogy. The second one is a companion novel. You don't have to read this one first. The third one is where the first two characters, the characters in the first 2 books meet in the 3rd book, and then the 4th book is one of the minor characters from this series. They follow him. It's great. Of course, the 5th Wave, definitely post-apocalyptic. We see them in this one. It's kind of a blending of both. There's the apocalypse where it starts. We get to see a little bit of that, and then it goes into the post-apocalyptic. Grasshopper Jungle, this is also apocalyptic because we are seeing our main characters deal with the ramifications of this catastrophe that is destroying the world. Pure is definitely post-apocalyptic, and this one is so interesting because it is, oh my goodness, it's just wild. Nuclear explosion has was blasted, okay, and so people who were around this blast have been fused with things that were around them at the time of that blast. So our main character was holding a baby doll. When the blast happened, the baby doll's head fused to one of her hands, and so instead of a hand on one of her on her body, one of her hands is a doll's head instead. Just so fascinating. Of course, we have the people out there that are living with the devastation, and the people that are pure were people that were living, that were lucky enough to find out about this ahead of time to live inside a protective dome. This is apocalyptic. Vivian Apple at the End of the World. This is very interesting too. People are going nuts because this new religion has come into being, and people are really, really big followers, and they say that this like rapture is coming, and what do you know, on the day that it's supposed to happen, these people, a lot of people have disappeared, and people go nuts. And Vivian Apple's parents are two of those people, and she now has to make it on her own and kind of find out what's going on. All right, so now we're going to move into steampunk, cyberpunk, and biopunk. All right, so steampunk is the word steam is in there, and so that's really, really going to help you out. It gets its name from the technology that it features, steam-powered machinery. So generally it takes place in Victorian England or some place very similar, where steam power has revolutionized all aspects of life and lead to unprecedented developments in science and society. So like, even though it's steam-powered, their technology is like really super cool. It can do some major things. Cyberpunk deals with, think of like hacking and computer technology, and it's the relationship between humans and computers at the core of these stories. And it's usually, it can be a futuristic world that's incredibly high tech, but it's also like very bleak and dark. So it's like there's a sinister feel to it usually. Then biopunk is another subgenre of this. It's a spin-off of cyberpunk that also involves hackers and corporations and oppressive government agencies, but they're like manipulating human DNA, or they're putting things in your brain, and you know, like, think of like Feed by M.T. Anderson. You know, like that thing goes in your brain, and then they're hacking it, and they've got like viruses, and it's you know, shorting out the chips or whatever. It keeps with a dark atmosphere, like cyberpunk does, but it generally examines the dangers and the darker side of genetic engineering, and usually presents like an underground of that biotechnology. So these definitely are not the only punks in science fiction. There are so many others. There's like diesel punk for like the diesel powered things. There's splatter punk, which is horror with gruesome and detailed depictions of violence. Elf punk, in which fairies and elves are transplanted from rural folklore into modern urban settings. So no matter what kind of punk you like, there's going to be something out there for you. So we have Joseph Bruchac, you know, who's a very, very, very popular author, who has even stepped his toe into steampunk. Our main character in Killer of Enemies has to go out and like, she has to save her family by killing these monsters that are outside like their safety. Etiquette and Espionage, this is a fantastic quartet. 4 books in this series, and they definitely are steampunk, and it's basically a school. This girl is going to a finishing school. At least that's what her parents think, and the world at large thinks it's just a finishing school. But actually what this school is, it's a school for assassins. They are taught to spy and kill. Something Strange and Deadly, this is steampunk, but also zombies. We've got Cory Doctorow's little brother for some cyberpunk. This is definitely hacking and computer technology. So cool. Berserk by Michael Grant. This is a series. There are like at least 3 in this series. This is biopunk. It deals with nanobots, nanorobots that like go into the body and do stuff, and they're like manipulating people's brains, and this major corporation is doing this to make people do what they want it to do. I love these. There are 2 books in this series, Dearly Departed and Dearly Beloved. It's zombie, but it's steampunk as well. It takes place in a futuristic time, but it's in a futuristic time where people have wanted to go back to the age of the Victorian era. So it's not set in that past Victorian era age. It's set in the future, but those people have taken on the, you know, the niceties, the, you know, how prim and proper they were. They're taking on that type of lifestyle. of the Victorian England era. But this is zombie. And it's not typical zombie. It's a very unique zombie storyline. Well, our main character here falls in love with one of the zombies. All right, now Dystopia. Love Dystopia. So it's definitely, it's been around for years. The Hunger Games was not the first book in this category. Some list the first dystopian book as Gulliver's Travels from 1726. But Dystopias for Teens doesn't really appear until The White Mountains, the first of the Tripod series by John Christopher in 1967. There's been a few other titles for young adults in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but it really didn't explode until the 2000s, and that was when The Hunger Games came onto the scene, but even it wasn't published until 2008. The major characteristics of dystopian literature include propaganda used to control the citizens, information and independent thought being restricted, a figurehead being worshipped, citizens under constant surveillance, citizens' fear of an outside world, citizens being expected to conform, individuality is really discouraged and sometimes prohibited, and the society is the illusion of a perfect world, but definitely not. A common subject found in dystopian literature is the resistance to the government. The main character often becomes disillusioned and joins the rebellion in order to bring down the government. And you really see that in these books. Our main character thinks one thing, finds out the truth, and then really decides to fight back. Eve, this trilogy by Anna Carey, is fascinating. I don't want to say too much, I'd go too long, but it's very, very cool. It's also post-apocalyptic. That's another thing. There's so much blending of these different categories. Post-apocalyptic often is found with dystopian. Same with legend. This is definitely one where our main character is disillusioned and joins the rebellion. The Declaration by Gemma Malley. Such a cool book. This is definitely deals with population control. That's the word I'm looking for. Population control. People have to, okay, there's this drug out there that allows like super long life, you know, well into your hundreds. But in order to get the pill or the medicine to take to allow that to happen, you have to sign a declaration at the age of 16 stating that you will not have children. People that break that are taken care of. Got put in jail, killed, whatever. Our main character, Surplus Anna, she's surplus because she's extra. She's the product of two people that took the medicine, however, had her anyway. She's now in like an orphanage and used to do grunt labor. And she thinks her parents are traitors. She's been brainwashed to think this until she comes across someone that wants to take her out of this orphanage and let her meet her parents. Bumped. There's a second one called Thumped by MCCAFFERTY. Absolutely phenomenal 2 books. There's something happened and people cannot, once you go past like 18, I think, 16 or 18, you are no longer able to have children. Something happened and you become sterile. And so what these adult couples do is they hire surrogates, a male and a female, and they are paid to have a child. They bump in order to get pregnant and then give this, you know, be the surrogate and give the child on to the couple that is paid for them. It's fascinating. The culture in this, the wordplay, the culture that MCCAFFERTY has created for this world is amazing, because becoming pregnant is put in the forefront of these young girls' minds, so much so that they are, there are pop songs out there about taking this drug that calms you down, and makes you mellow for your experience, you know, so you're not nervous when you're with the guy. They also sell in the stores in fashion, they sell shirts that have fake pregnancy bumps on it to get the girls ready and excited to have this this bump in order, you know, to want to become a surrogate. Condoms are illegal. You know, they're like contraband. You're not supposed to have them. And you definitely don't just go around having sex with just anybody because you want your score or your numbers to be, you know, good. And so you want to, you know, follow the rules and not mix with anybody that, you know, have a baby that nobody's going to want. Scored. This is very interesting as far it's a world where you are, how your worth is determined by your score in school, and you are watched. That's a camera. You're watched all the time. Who you're friends with, how you do in school, whether you are well behaved. All of those things go into a score. That means, do you get to go to college or not? Do you have a good job or not? This girl is great. She's a good girl, has a good score. Her best friend, not so much. So, of course, her family does not want her to be involved with her at all because it could possibly bring down her score. Under the Never Sky, absolutely love this society. This is another society where there is a protective like bubble where they live inside because the outside world is too dangerous. And this girl is exiled for something that she participates in and has to make it on her own out there, except not on her own because she meets one of my favorite book boyfriends, Perry. Article 5, absolutely love this one too, by KRISTIN Simmons. Article 5 is states that children born out of wedlock, it's illegal. And the thing is now they're like being retroactive. This girl, she's like, what, 15, 16, I don't know. And her mother's very irresponsible, has contraband all the time, and they're searched. Their houses are searched. And she has to clean up after her mom, put away this trashy romances. Well, they get a knock on the door, and she just thinks it's going to be another search. Instead, it turns out to be the fact that they are coming to arrest the mother for breaking Article 5, having this girl out of wedlock, even though it was like 15 years ago. And the boy who comes to do the arresting is a former next-door neighbor, the boy she's always loved. And so she is just heartbroken. Although, of course, there's more to the story, and it's fascinating to follow. There's 3 in this series. Memento Nora, very good. This deals with memory. You can go, if something happens that's traumatic and you don't want to remember it anymore, you can go to this place, take this pill, and you'll forget it. The thing is there's, you know, of course, government conspiracy behind this, and somebody, when she goes to take this pill at this place, somebody tells her, don't take it, you know, and so then she finds out the things going on. All right, extrasensory perceptions. The concept of the second sight has been around for a long time. There are examples of it in the Odyssey by Homer. The term extrasensory perception, along with the acronym ESP, wasn't made commonplace, though, until 1934 when he wrote a book titled that. It's most commonly associated with books about telepathy, which is the thought transference between people, clairvoyance, or supernatural awareness of objects or events not necessarily known, and precognition, or knowledge of the future. So those 3 are the ones that are most often known. Telepathy, talking between people in your mind. Clairvoyance, like touching something and knowing something about it. Or precognition, seeing the future. Good examples of this are Diviners by LIBBA BRAY. Not only is this a great example of extrasensory perception, it's also a freaking creepy book. It's so scary. LIBBA BRAY did a masterful job with this story set in the 1920s that deals with ESP. And that's a time when that ESP was kind of, you know, they were having seances and all of that stuff. It was like an entertainment thing. They did it all the time. Soulless by Christopher Golden. The thing about Christopher Golden is he was one of like the writers on the Buffy the Vampire show. This is it's horror as well as deals with ESP. They're going to have like this largest seance on TV, and the thing is what happens is what happens during this publicized, televised seance is it somehow brings the dead back to life. And so zombies, people are raising from the dead and returning back to their homes, and bloodiness ensues. Clarity by Kim Harrington is a book where a girl uses her clairvoyance for good. She's helping the police solve a crime. Eat Brains Love, zombie book, absolutely fabulous, but it also deals with telepathy. One of the girls that works for the FBI that's in charge of containing zombie outbreaks and you know, making sure public doesn't find out about it and go crazy. She has this link to one of the zombies, and she kind of falls in love with him. Anyway, it's good. Freakling is a story where most everybody has a power of telekinesis, where you can move objects and do things, and other kind of psi powers. He is a freakling because he does not have that power, and even though he's tried to fake it, he's found out and sent to like this community out away from their society. And there he finds out what life was like prior to not even having to do anything but do up your buttons and you know, just do everything. They have to do things for themselves rather than using their mind powers. So it's fascinating. Wake by Lisa McMahon. This is a trilogy. It's about a young girl who can, during her dreams, she can enter other people's dreams and see things that are happening. Dead is the New Black. This is a fun series. She's one of the, she's like in the family. She doesn't, I feel I want to say that she doesn't have the power. She doesn't have a power like the rest of her family does. She's the one in the family that doesn't have it. Let's see. Hold on just a minute. Yeah, Daisy's our main character. Her mother is a well-known psychic who helps the police solve cases. Her oldest sister, Rose, can read minds. Poppy, who's a year older than her, has telekinesis. So she feels left out because she's the only one who doesn't have a power. Vibes by Amy Kathleen Ryan. She can read people's minds. And so our main character always is wearing headphones for music to block out, because she doesn't want to hear how everybody thinks how strange she is, or what guys think about when they look at her large chest, or her mother wondering why she avoids her. So she, several things happen that shakes up her world. She meets a new boy, and everything she thought she knew, of course, like is one of the major things, is turned on its ear, and she finds something, you know, she learns new things. The Bruiser by Neil Shusterman is so good. It's heartbreaking. Bruiser Rollins, he's a loner, and people don't like him in town. He lives in a really rough home. Tennyson, who's really, Guy, who's really well liked and a popular guy, meets Bruiser when his sister starts dating him. And the thing about Bruiser is he has the ability to take on other people's pain. When he is around you, you stop bickering with your husband. Or if you fall and break your arm, if Bruiser comes next to you and touches you, he can take that break away and take the pain on himself. And Bruiser does this for his little brother quite often because they live in an abusive home. And when people find out, if people find out about this, you can imagine how Bruiser can get taken advantage of. Hidden Talents by David Lubar. Definitely one that needs to be found. It's a short book, but it deals with extrasensory perception of these kids in a class. Now we have robots, androids, cyborgs, artificial intelligence. You know, so there are different things. You know, robot, of course, is the machine. Android is an automaton, usually in the form of a human being. Cyborg is a person who's physiologically functioning, but it's aided by mechanical or electronic devices. Artificial intelligence is the computer that's learning and making decisions. You've got clones. So it's very complex. There are many, many things that can fit in this category. Adam and Eve is a great book in this series. It's written by co-authors Michael Grant and Catherine Applegate, their husband and wife. And this is a girl whose mother is a scientist. She, I think she breaks her leg or something, so she's kept in the hospital for a long time. And while she's there, her mother gives her kind of something to keep her busy. And what that is, she tells her it's to test some software that schools will be using. But it's really allows her to build a boy. So she like builds her dream guy, a great guy, and doesn't really know that he's going to be able to actually come true. And he does, and, you know, so it's like Frankenstein, you know. Anyway, it's interesting. Beta is about clones. It's great. Okay, girl parts, absolutely fantastic. Oh my goodness. So when people are, okay, suicide there's been a spike in suicides. Something that school counselors then and this company has started marketing these companions, and it's because they are saying the reason these kids are having trouble is because they are disassociating due to so much technology use. So they are marketing these companions to teach them how to interact appropriately with people. So these girls are programmed. Well, I mean, there might be boy ones too, but the girl is our girl is our main one here, or this companion. Her David's parents get him a companion, and he is thrilled because he's basically got this girl who's going to do whatever he says, right? Problem is she's programmed to not do certain things until other, like, benchmarks have been reached. So he goes to hold her hand and she shocks him because he hasn't talked to her enough, doesn't know her, doesn't get to know her. Definitely shocks him when he tries to kiss her, and definitely won't let him go any further than that. Well, he's totally ticked off about this and totally abandons her at a party. And she's found by another young man who takes her in because she's been left alone and doesn't even know how to survive on her own because she's only got what she's programmed with right now. But once she's taken in by this other boy who lives with his father, she begins to take on and learn a little bit about life and becomes a little bit more like sentient or whatever. It's a great story on what it means to be human. Cinder, of course, a lot of people know Cinder. She's a cyborg. The Adoration of Jenna Fox, so good. Don't want to say much about it because you really need to read this one in order to get the full enjoyment. Skinned, Crashed, and Wired. Okay, trilogy. I've seen that it's going to be reissued, or it was reissued, as Frozen, Shattered, and Torn. However, I've never seen those. So, anyway, just check it out. See if they're under both names or whatever. Basically, this girl, our main character, has been in a terrible car accident to where, like, her body is like burned up and can't be used. But her brain is okay. So the technology has been created to allow people to, their brains to be downloaded into another body, another another body. But it's a synthetic body. It's mechanical. It's got synthetic skin or whatever. And you know, so if you know it's going to happen ahead of time, like if you're going to die and you want to go ahead and get a body made ahead of time to your specifications so it still looks like you, that can be done. However, for this young girl, it was an accident, a car accident, no ahead of time warning, so she just has to be downloaded into something that's available. So when she wakes up and looks in the mirror, she doesn't look at herself. She looks at somebody completely different. And so do her friends at school. They see her totally different. So her boyfriend's totally flipping out because she's, you know, not her anymore. Her skin feels different, you know, so things kind of fall apart in her life. And there's of course a rebellion going on because people have a prejudice against these skinners, you know, who they're saying, you know, they're living in another, you know, different skin. And so it's exciting and just fascinating. Partials deals with humans fighting against robots. Okay, space. Extraterrestrial. Black Hole Sun by David McGinnis Gill. Absolutely love this series. You know, with aliens and extraterrestrial, there's also a bunch of different kinds. There's alien invasion. There's alien conspiracy. You know, so like X-Files. Alien invasion could definitely be like Grasshopper Jungle, or although that's not really alien, but anyway, The Fifth Wave. Colonization science fiction, which is kind of Black Hole Sun. First Contact, which is when they're, you know, of course, making first contact. Space opera, that's known for having like large scale, often over the top characters, themes, and plots, and the setting is nearly always in outer space. They tend to go toward the romantic and melodramatic, and follow like an adventure style format. Black Hole Sun is like they're hired guns, and these guys are hired to go to Mars to protect these people that are like mining for a certain like gem, I think, and people are trying to steal it from them. So they're like mercenaries that are hired to go in and do a job and come out. And the thing is this, our main character here is trying to like live down like his father's reputation. He's trying to make his own way, make a name for himself. It's a fantastic series. Rules is a girl that has been, her human DNA has been spliced with alien DNA, so she has both. Tune by Derek Kirk Kim. There's 2 graphic novels, Vanishing Point, and the book 2 is Still Life. There's this young guy who is just not making it in the world, and he's kind of an artist and starving artist, and he's approached by this alien with this super cool deal to go up to space for like a year or something, and he can come back with a ton of money. Thing is, he doesn't read the fine print, and when he gets there, he realizes he's in a situation he doesn't want to be in. You really have to read it to appreciate it. These Broken Stars, this is a trilogy. The covers are gorgeous on all of these, but it's a good science fiction space series. Mothership. This is unique, I think. It's a story of a young girl who finds herself pregnant, and the father of her baby has disappeared. Elvie, you know, luckily she has a super best friend, a very supportive dad, and they decide the best thing for her is to go to the Hanover School for Expecting Teen Mothers. It's a low orbiting spaceship where this school takes place, and it's for pregnant mothers only. So it's definitely not how she planned to spend her junior year, but she's willing to go with the flow. She finds out once she's there, of course, that her arch nemesis is there, also pregnant. Then the school is invaded by super hot commandos, and one turns out to be the boy she fell in love with and got pregnant by. Turns out that the teachers at Hanover are aliens, and they're there for the girls' babies. They want the babies to repopulate their species. Their ship is damaged, and things look pretty bad, but Elvie has a ray gun, and she has a plan, and she intends to get back to Earth in one piece. It's humorous, it's, you know, baby mama drama, it's friendship drama, mean girls, on top of aliens. It just has everything. There are 3 in this series. The Knife of Never Letting Go, absolutely phenomenal trilogy. It's set in an alien world, humans on an alien planet. They colonized a planet, and on this planet there are no girls. It's just boys, men, and they can hear each other's thoughts all the time. They call it noise. So basically you always know what's going on in everybody's mind. And it's not just the men, it's the animals too. So they, like Manchi, the boy's dog, is always like, "Pooh, Todd, pooh." And, you know, the squirrels are chattering and yelling at him, and it's just fascinating. But of course, things are not as they seem, and Todd, our main character, stumbles upon a girl. And he has to leave his community in order to make sure people don't find out about this girl, because they will be able to read it in his mind if he's too close. And people definitely want to know about her. They find out, they chase them. It's fantastic. Across the Universe by Beth Rivas. It's a trilogy, also super, super good. Glow by Amy Kathleen Ryan. She's the same one that wrote Vibes about the mind reader. This is also a good trilogy, and it deals with infertility, and oh, it's just great. Let's see, this is what, aliens? Yeah, so we've got the 5th wave again, you know, because see, I said they blend in, so it's not only post-apocalyptic, it's also aliens. Alienated. I love this trilogy. The 3rd book just came out. This is the story of First Contact. The people on Earth have made contact with this alien race, and they have made an agreement for some of the young people from the alien planet to come down to Earth and go to school with, or to, you know, blend in with society. Get to know the people on Earth, so Earth can get to know them. And then there's supposed to be some kind of agreement to where the aliens are going to then help Earth with some of their problems, with the ecology, with cancer, because they have the drugs that can help with all of that. Major technology breaks that we don't have and we desperately need. Of course, our main character, the girl, is the family that is chosen to be the host of I want to say Alec, our alien boy. And of course, at first they don't like each other, but then they fall in love. And of course, this is a major, major conflict because people don't like the aliens. It's great. If you got to watch the TV show, what was it called? Star-Crossed. It was on one of the TV channels a year or 2 ago. And man, that was so similar. Alright, time travel. Parallel universes. So, ever since H.G. Wells' The Time Machine in 1895, science fiction authors have been utilizing a variety of time machines and literary devices. Many books transport their characters through magic. However, for what I focused on, I did it mostly through a scientific method for traveling through time or place. Some books are kind of vague, but if they weren't obviously magical, I feel comfortable including them in this science fiction presentation. It's amazing, the scientific theory behind this stuff. I mean, people can really act like they're like this can happen. Physics churns out parallel universes with ease. Paradoxes are definitely common trope in time travel fiction books. They're created when an event is altered. For example, the grandfather paradox. You travel to the past and kill your grandfather, and so then you can't be born. But if you're not born, you can't travel to the past to kill your grandfather. So your grandfather lives and you're born. So it's just like a circular problem, you know. So that's a very common thing. A lot of times you'll find out here that there are, in the ones that we'll talk about, I'll talk about, they go back in time to rescue family members or prevent disaster or escape a dying world. Some characters go willingly, others transport themselves accidentally, and others are taken by force. Waterfall, this is I don't know, there might be 4 or 5 books in this series by Lisa T. Berggren. It's great. It's, I don't really like to say this word, but it's, or this term, but it's a clean read, meaning it's totally safe for those people that don't like to have any edginess, cussing, sexual situations, things like that. A girl and her sister are transported to like the 1400s, Italy, because her parents are archaeologists, and they're digging in this area, looking at this, at the I don't know, the remains are not the right words, but you know, they're looking at the stuff left from those people in the past. And they go to this certain place and they touch something on this wall. They touch these handprints in this like cave, and they're transported to the 1400s. It's such a good story. It's romance, and it's just like adventure, because we get to see the war between these people in Italy and these different castles, and it's wonderful. The Here and Now by Anne Brashares. So this is Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants author, but she wrote a time travel book. These people are transporting to a different world due to the fact that their world, the earth that they are living in, is dying, and they are needing to come back to a time that is safe. The thing is they can't tell people this because it will, you know, like change things, and you know, anyway. So it's great. The Power of Un is younger. I have to always include it though, because it's a wonderful story of it's just great. This boy is approached and given an honor, and he ends up trying to use this honor, which will go back and like replay an event, in order to prevent this horrible tragedy in his family. But every time he does this, something else happens and he can't quite get it right. Through to You is like a parallel universe. This girl, boy, I forget, loses her boyfriend, or the guy loses the girlfriend, and like in a car accident, and finds this like rip in between worlds at like the accident site when she goes back to look at it, or he goes back to look at it, and finds the boyfriend or girlfriend, whichever it is, again. However, it's the parallel universe one, and it's not the same. not the same person. And so they have to realize, is this the one I love, or do they fall in love with someone else? It's very good. Choices by Deborah Lynn Jacobs, very fascinating. It's told in like 3 different points of view, all the same person, but all from different choices. It's great. Tandem, this is also parallel universes. There's a second one to this one called Tether. This is Faye Kellerman. She's an adult author, but she wrote this YA with her daughter called Prism. And this is the story of a group of teens that are on a field trip, and they're in a car accident. And they have to run to get away from a storm, and they go inside this cave or something, and they're transported to a parallel universe. This parallel universe looks almost exactly like theirs, but it's like medication. Common medical health is prevented, is not allowed. So like they have a cold or a headache, and people freak out and like take them away, and so there's no aspirin, there's no, you know, if you get a cut on your finger, you could be like whisked away from your world, from your home, and put in quarantine. So it's very strange to them, of course, and it's a dangerous place to be. I think one of them needs like a medication for like asthma, and so of course it's not available. Fascinating. All right, now we've got virtual gaming, or virtual reality and gaming. So this, a lot of times it's where you know, like a person is lost in this virtual world, or like it's kind of like our first one here is Feed, where they actually have a chip implanted to where they are in a virtual world. They actually manipulate it with their brain. The Eye of Minds by James Dashner, this series, it's where this kid is lost in this, or he's a gamer, and total body immersion is this technology that where they go in and they play. There's this major conspiracy. People are actually, you know, you're not supposed to die when you're in this game, but he is able to, he actually stumbles across someone who commits suicide, and if you die in the game, you actually die in real life. So he has to fight against this person that's like overlording this whole virtual world. Doomed by Tracy Deebs is interesting. It's a girl who it's like Pandora's box type thing. Her father, who has like not been in her life for a long time, sends her an email on her birthday. When she opens it, a computer virus shuts down the entire global power grid, and she then has to work with her stepbrothers, or anyway, she works with 2 guys that were living next door, and they are willing to jump in and help, and the 3 of them have to follow clues left by her father in the form of photographs from her childhood in order to beat the game and save the world. Awaken is a world where, you know, like the world has been so dangerous with school shootings and drive-by shootings that people have decided to where they would just prefer to interact with people in a virtual environment. School is virtual. You go to the movies with your friends virtually, meaning you watch it on the computer at home, but yet you are kind of synced in with your friends to where you can talk about it. You don't do anything face-to-face anymore. And this girl is like the daughter of the guy that's in charge of the entire school system. And she comes across this group of people that are rebelling against this and wanting to get back to more one-on-one or face-to-face interactions, which of course is frowned upon. All right, Ready Player One, of course, fantastic. Love it, love it, love it. This is definitely virtual reality, but it is so based on like my 1980s growing up times, and so you definitely want to read this one. I listened to it on audio. It's It's narrated by Will Wheaton. It's great. So anyway, it's a guy who's in a virtual world in order to follow clues, in order to get to this major prize at the end. So it's like a competition. And it's good. Okay, Epic by Connor Caustic. This is also, it's a world where it's very hard to make a living. And in order to get anywhere in life, you have to actually do well in this virtual reality world. Like you are required to be in this world, and you do things in this world in order to even be able to go to college. And so the game's called Epic, and he is having to be in this game. And anyway, it's very good. More Than This by Patrick Ness. Don't want to say much. You just definitely need to read this one, but it definitely falls in this category. And then we have Z by Michael Thomas Ford. This guy thinks he is being brought in to, because of his ability to play this video game. And he thinks he's going to be participating in this brand new, like super realistic zombie hunting game. The problem is, what he finds out is he's not killing fake zombies. He's killing real people that have turned into zombies. And then you've also got books that are miscellaneous. Of course, there are ones that just don't really meet the other kind of criteria. You know, there's Sick there by Tom Levine. It's great. It's a zombie outbreak story. But yet it's not really apocalyptic because it doesn't really take, I mean, I don't know, it could be apocalyptic, but it only takes place like on a high school campus. It's very, very cool. Turnabout by Margaret Peterson Haddix is the story of these two old ladies that participate in a scientific study, a trial, to start taking this drug. That they get this drug and their age goes backwards. And so we get to see it from two points of view for a little while. We get to see it when they're in their 80s and just now starting to feel the benefits of this younger age, when they're getting younger and younger and feeling better. But we also see them at 16 and 15 years old. They have lived their life to the 80s, and now they've already gone backwards in time to where they're 16 and 15. The problem is there's two things going on. Some of the people that were, or the most of the people that were in the trial with them have ended up dead. So there's some kind of conspiracy. The people that are in charge of it are killing off the members of the study. And in addition to that, they realize they're running into a problem. Once they get too young, they're not going to be able to take care of themselves anymore. One is already 15 and lost the ability to drive legally. The other is 16 and still can, but soon, next year, she won't be able to either. So they need to find someone that will take care of them when they get too young to take care of themselves. So they try and hunt down family members of one of them. Things Not Seen by Andrew Clements is my favorite Andrew Clements book. It's also for younger readers, but it deals with a boy that wakes up one morning and he's invisible. Memory of After is very interesting. It's a girl, you've got to just read it on your own. The Hunt is a vampire story, but very, very unique. Dull Boy is about a boy who wakes up with superhero powers. The Originals, I think, deals with clones. I could have put that in another category, I guess. In the After, you just have to read it. It's different. So is Starters. Starters is poor kids that are really needing money can get that by like renting out their bodies for a certain amount of time. Old people will go to this business and pay to be mind swapped. Like you as the young person would kind of go in this stasis to where you're kind of like asleep. But an old person will get their brain downloaded into your body, and they can go off and go clubbing or go skydiving or go and relive their wonder years. The problem with this one is the girl who decides to do it in order to try and save her and her brother, because they are homeless, she doesn't go into stasis. She somehow is sharing the brain space with the person that is who paid for her body and realizes that the woman that paid for her body is doing it in order to try and get down to find out what happened to her granddaughter. There's some conspiracy that has happened to these young people that are allowing their bodies to be used. Noggin by John Corey Whaley. You need to watch this one. It's about cryogenics. He has cancer and chooses to have his head removed and frozen until there's a time when he can get a body transplant. And he thinks it's going to be 100 years away from now, but it turns out to be only 5. And so all of his friends and family have really kind of moved on, but yet he's still going to be 17 and has to go his senior year when everybody else he was with went to college. So it's great. When We Wake also deals with cryogenic freezing. What's Left of Me deals with like 2 souls in one body. So it's like a world where you are born with 2 people in you. But by like age 5, one of them becomes less dominant and ends up fading away. And that's what's supposed to happen. But it doesn't in some cases. And the ones that have 2 equally dominant souls, they are kind of targeted, and people, you know, want to get rid of one. And it's pretty interesting. Undead is a zombie book, and it's just great. So remember, Sci-Fi on the Fly is a book if you want to help with recommending science fiction to people. I apologize for the length of the video, but you can watch it in stages. And I'm going to upload the PowerPoint to SlideShare and give the link in the description. So, read some science fiction.